Let's replace this Gameboy Color's screen with an IPS mod. G'day, and welcome to Restore and Teardown. This series is growing as I move along, and a few more in the works of handheld consoles being replaced with IPS screens. This particular unit's results are absolutely superb. The best I've done, and I've really enjoyed playing on it since I've done this mod. The screen cover and the body of the unit really deeply scratched and well worn. The battery cover did not match the original unit, so using a reproduction case, in my opinion, is perfectly fine. As well, my general point of view on this is if we're modifying the unit away from factory new with an IPS mod, then using a reproduction case is also certainly an option. And it feels, if it's a good quality reproduction case, very, very nice. Getting started with the teardown here, the 6 tri-screws at the back of the unit come out first. I bought this Gameboy and the seller described the sound as intermittently working. Now, my assumption on that was that maybe the speaker wire had come loose. Just having a look over the board there, the wires seem to be in place, so it's a bit of a mystery why the speaker wasn't working, but we'll shed some light on that in a second. But it was intermittent. Some notes did play as they should, but the majority of sounds didn't come out. Just removing the 3 Phillips head screws, and of course disconnecting the ribbon cable. Being gentle with the ribbon cables is a key to success as we free the board, and we get our first little look at that speaker, which I suppose is rusted. Maybe something spilt on it, and it's strange that the plastic diaphragm reacted the way that it did, but it was somewhat operational. I realise there my replacement speaker doesn't come with the plastic housing, but in fact is held in place just fine, so I went ahead and used that. Just using the soldering iron to heat up the solder and free the old speaker. I decided to go ahead and pull the speaker apart just to have a look at what was going on. It is quite strange. Tinning the pads prior to connecting it to the board and putting a little bit more solder onto the cable as well. So having done just a quick test fit off screen, everything turned on, I'm placing the screen now in the repro housing, which is obviously come pre-cut, which is an important thing to accommodate the IPS screens. The screens themselves, while they don't change the aspect ratio of the pixels, the screens themselves don't always, depending on which one, fit into the housing easily. So if they're made with the screen in mind, it's really easy, whereas this one was, as per the process would be if you were to buy the screen with the intention of reusing your housing, you need to accommodate the bigger IPS panel. I popped it in there, and then I realized probably one of the key things here is to position this well. And to position this well in the housing, because see that wiggle room, there's a few mil in every direction almost. The key will be you'll get one shot onto the adhesive. You don't want to pull off the glass screen because it's very, very fragile. So one shot, steady hand, get it in line. You see those touch connectors, they're really nice. It means that you don't need to solder to the board to do a button combination to change brightness and color palette, but you get the option to change it on the fly as you're playing. This is an important step. Putting this sticker on the back of the screen is going to offer some insulation between the daughter board for the screen and the motherboard of the unit itself. So just using the back of my knife to disconnect the ribbon cable, place this board, connects like a little Lego that doesn't want to connect. I don't know if it's just me or what the story is here, but I do not find them easy to connect, and I know that having ripped a ribbon cable really similar to that in the past and failing on a mod, you want to take your time, making sure that you're not putting too much stress on there. So the top right touch sensor will control the color palette, and the top left obviously the brightness of the screen. The adhesive that was on that seemed to have come off, maybe in transit, maybe when it was being packed or whatever the case was, but a little bit extra of double-sided tape to hold it in place. The last thing I wanted was it coming loose. You see the D-pad insert there has been cut down just like the housing for the screen has. I've gone with all new button connectors, all new screws to go along with the housing. I think it's just a nice finish. Another piece of tape goes between that board and the motherboard, so we're not using foam like another mod did. Just test fitting that new speaker, which holds in place really, really well. Again, Phillips head screws on the inside. Pleased to say with this mod, I didn't assemble and disassemble needlessly several times. We knew that it was working when we test fit. We lined it up perfectly first go, so there was no tears in terms of facing the choice. If you were to place it off center, you'd have to make a choice of, are you going to live with it, or are you going to try and pull it off and potentially destroy the screen? And I think if you had placed it and it was in the wrong spot, removing it will damage it, almost certainly, by looking at reviews and what other people have done. So just get it right the first time, measure twice, cut once, but don't stuff around and make mistakes. There we go, just going through the colour palettes there. Something about my camera settings here, maybe we could fix it in post if I knew what I was doing a little bit better there, but you couldn't quite see the screen as I was seeing it. But the main thing there was the function test, so continue reassembling with those Nintendo tri-screws. I don't know whether they made the standard for tri-screws or not, but they certainly embraced them. I wouldn't be adverse if they went to just Phillips heads. I think they're a little bit nicer and prevents people from buying different kits. Two more screws behind the battery compartment underneath that bottom AA battery. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Now the seller, when I bought this new housing, sent me two screen covers. One of the screen covers was just like a normal Gameboy Color in yellow, didn't have Pokemon on it at all, and I was planning on using that actually, but looking at it here, even though the Pokemon didn't match up, the new one has Pichu on it, which I'm not sure is an original release. Maybe it was a bit of a licensing dodge on these reproduction ones, but uses Pikachu anyway. So in the last moment here, I decided to go ahead with the Pokemon screen cover, and I'm really happy I did. I think it came out really, really brilliantly. Having just a small side-by-side comparison here of the opening sequence on Pokemon Yellow, you can see just the stark contrast in its colours, its ability to have the brightness that it does. Looks $1,000,000. Hope you've enjoyed the video and watching the process of how to install an IPS mod in a Game Boy Color. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.